You're watching UnrealEntGaming. This is Gohan from Dragon Ball Z. You want to see me turn Super Saiyan? Or should I take it to the next level? I'm also the narrator, too. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, make sure and smash subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
As the battle between both Broly and Jiren now begins to intensify and nearing its end, with both characters having to now reach the very peak of their absolute power and having to exceed all of their previous expectations as seen on the previous manga chapter video, with Broly now achieving the power of Super Saiyan Blue and merging it into his own way, with Jiren also achieving a supernova-like transformation. The question going forward is which one of these two warriors is finally going to emerge victorious by the end, and is it possible that one will in fact exceed the other, or are we bound to see a stalemate by the very end of this battle? Now, before we dive any further into this video, if you are new to the channel and of course have a love and passion for all things Dragon Ball and anime related, and want to be kept up to date with everything in regards to Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball Super manga, and everything involving the Dragon Ball IP, then I do encourage you guys to go on over and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single video on this channel, as well as giving this video a big thumbs up by slapping that like button down below if you guys are simply stoked, ready, and excited to see what the future holds in regards to the Dragon Ball franchise. And with all that being said, I want to thank you all so much for your support, and let's dive straight into the video. As we kick off Monty Black's Beyond Dragon Ball Super Story of Jiren vs. Broly manga chapter special, with Jiren now having to achieve a brand new form that goes by the name of Supernova, Whis went along to further comment, Jiren has concentrated his energy which matches that of a supernova. And with Jiren staring intensely at Broly, Whis then continues, into the equivalent of a neutron star. As of course Jiren proceeds to stare at Broly intensely, Margarita then chimes in by commenting, that is the energy he's earned through the ages from his intense training and many battles. This seems much more of an appropriate power for Jiren, says Whis. Goku, you impress me more and more all the time, because this was Goku's master plan in getting Broly to be pushed into new heights and achieving new levels of power, just as he had told Jiren, and with the Grand Priest having to oversee this, he then also chimes in by commenting, need I remind you two that you're still on the clock? There are 5 minutes left remaining. So let's not waste any more time. Let's commence. And as of course we then see how Broly and Jiren then position themselves in getting ready to assumingly have their final battle, with of course Jiren having to reach his peak, along with Broly having to also max out his power. It's very fascinating to see how both characters eventually end up charging on in, and they move with such precision and with such speed that as soon as they go on to attack each other, we get to see how as soon as Broly attempts to make the first move, each and every single time Broly looks to actually connect a shot, Jiren ends up dodging it. So despite the level of growth and despite the level of power, Jiren is able to duck, dodge, weave, and avoid all of Broly's attacks, as only then Jiren quickly follows by having to glare at Broly directly, but with Broly having to have cognitive rationality and hyper-focused senses, Broly is able to outmaneuver and dodge all of Jiren's glare attacks, as only then both of their fists end up going right through one another, because the level of speed and the level of power that both of these guys are delivering here is literally creating shockwaves all throughout the universe. You get to see how galaxies are being destroyed, everything seems to be shaking under the tremendous pressure of both of their powers, as of course we see this really nice shadowy silhouette of both Jiren and Broly having to have their backs turned towards one another, as only then they slowly proceed to turn towards one another, as of course Jiren is shown smiling, Broly is smiling, because they both seem to be very happy and very glad that they have reached this level of power in finding a rival soon enough to actually be able to keep up with the other. And with both of them shown having to raise their arms up in the air, they each create these massive energy balls up in the sky, with of course the Grand Priest having to oversee this. He then comments, we must watch this fight elsewhere. It's too dangerous to stay here, because both of them are looking to actually level the entirety of the universe that they're fighting in, because as soon as they then both follow up by throwing these massive energy balls at each other, what the Grand Priest ends up doing is he ends up actually teleporting everybody away, because apparently enough, the entirety of the universe was destroyed, or at least that is what is being implied, because towards the end there seemingly enough is nothing left based on both of them having to launch these attacks at one another, as only then we go back to Universe 11, and interestingly enough, there is this massive tree that seems to sit over this field, as of course we then witness how the Supreme Kai, Goku, and many other individuals end up getting to Universe 11. The Supreme Kai of the 11th universe goes on to greet Belmont by commenting, "Welcome, Lord Belmont. Welcome, guests from the 7th universe. The fight was starting to get hectic," Belmont says, so the Grand Priest thought it was ideal to come here. "Say, where could we see the fight?" Goku says. "Right this way," as the Supreme Kai responds. As seconds later, we get to observe how there is an individual standing there with a halo above his head, and this individual is none other than Jiren, which is of course Jiren's master. With Belmont looking on, he then went along to respond, I didn't expect to see you here out of all people. Whoa, you must be Jiren," Goku says. "Glad they let you watch the fight like I asked. You look strong," and with Jiren turning around, he then went along to respond, "I am. It is an honor to finally meet you, Son Goku. I want to thank you for reminding Jiren of what's most important, and allowing me to watch this fight. I heard Jiren had learned his lesson in the Tournament of Power, and I wanted to see that myself. But it looks like his progress in power and your ability to bounce back from near death had, in a sense, spoiled him. But when you protected Broly, it reminded me of the day I protected my favorite student from danger. I'm sure Jiren remembered that too." As over back with Broly and Jiren, the fight is now really beginning to get intense, because we get to see how Broly is trying to charge up for a massive attack, which is of course very similar to Goku's Kamehameha, as of course Broly ends up firing this massive blast directly at Jiren. What Jiren ends up doing is similar to what UI Omen Goku did against Kefla, is Jiren ends up completely having to evade this attack by sliding off of it, and with Broly looking on, he couldn't seem to believe that Jiren at this point had done such a thing, because he was expecting for this attack to connect, and as soon as Jiren then gets up close and personal right in front of Broly's face, Broly's inner fire then ignites, very similar to that of a phoenix, and what Broly ends up doing is Broly ends up completely having to move out of the way, and having Jiren follow him to such an extent to where these two are moving with such precision and with such speed that once Jiren ends up catching up, Broly ends up looking directly at Jiren, as of course he quickly follows through in freezing Jiren in place momentarily right before having to punch Jiren directly in the stomach. And because of this, despite Jiren's fury and having to push Broly back, Broly had actually connected a very solid shot to Jiren's abdominal section, to where Jiren seems to be a tad bit paralyzed, very similar to how Broly was when he fought Gogeta. And the second we see how Jiren's body then begins to levitate, very similar to what Gogeta had done to Broly, Broly ends up raising his arms directly up in the sky, very similar, identical to that of Gogeta's move, and he ends up completely blowing Jiren away. And because of this, I strongly disagree with Monty Black's direction in giving Broly all of these attacks and all these similar techniques to that of Goku, to that of Gogeta, because it doesn't seem to make sense that Broly is now able to do this, because this was originally Gogeta's thing. So for him to do this, it created such a shockwave to where back in Universe 11, with everyone observing, Chile goes on to comment, "Please survive, Broly. Jiren, please win," Belmont says. "Don't worry, you guys," Goku says, and with Jiren looking on intensely, Goku goes on to look at Jiren right before having to look back down at the crystal ball. As we once again then go back to Broly and Jiren, we get to see how there is a massive light that is emanating from the distance, as of course this is coming from Jiren himself. Broly looks on as he went along to comment, "This is getting fun. You are strong," with Jiren responding, "I'm just getting started." And with Broly then having to raise his hand up in the air, it's quite interesting how once again Jiren is beginning to pick up on exactly what Broly is doing, and from what it looks like, it almost seems as though Broly is creating some sort of a Stardust Breaker in his hand, which once again, if this does end up being the case, then I strongly disagree with this having to be a carbon copy of Gogeta, because It just simply doesn't make any sense, right? So, as soon as Broly is shown holding this up in the air, Jiren is not wasting any more time as he charges on in, and with Broly doing the exact same thing, Broly was looking to end it right then and there, but with Jiren being Jiren, what he ends up doing is he ends up actually going on ahead to grab onto this attack and squeezing it right in front of Broly, with of course Broly looking on. Jiren is shown having to put so much passion and so much of his power in trying to break this, as of course he eventually does. Both Broly and Jiren are then shown having to lock on a test of strength and having to see which one is in fact superior by comparison to the other, and it's quite fascinating to see how even though both of them are at the peak of their power, they're trying to both do everything they can to win this, with of course Gichin having to observe. He then went along to comment, "It seems Jiren's love of fighting has become as pure as Goku's. Jiren has become truly pure of heart and mind," with of course the two having to be shown shaking because they're trying to get the better of one another, while of course we get to see their surroundings literally shatter right before everyone's eyes. And as Broly goes on to slowly close his eyes, he then proceeds to smile right before having to open it, and the little orb, the little spark that was in the middle of his chest, then ignites in such a way to where even Whis goes on to acknowledge this by commenting, "We may have a problem. Broly's concentrated power is expanding at an extreme rate. To compete with that, Jiren is concentrating, contracting his energy more and more. If Broly's energy comes into contact with Jiren's, it will be the equivalent of a big bang, so to speak. There will be enough energy from that explosion to fill an entire universe or maybe beyond." And with Beerus observing, he then responds, "Only a god could withstand that much power and not suffer the consequences themselves." With Whis chiming in, "The explosion may wipe out all 12 universes and the fabric of space and time." "What?" Goku says, with Beerus responding, "Well, Goku, it looks like you pushed your students a little too far." With Goku shouting, "Zeno-chan, if I could just stop those two, can we call the fight a draw?" This fight will continue. I will contain the blast. I suggest you follow your own advice, Goku, and stop your worry. And with Broly and Jiren shown very intensely having to shout, they then both proceed to pour in everything they have in the form of one singular punch, and ironically enough, they both end up punching each other right through the chest, as of course blood is gushing from their hands, their bodies are absolutely rattled, and we get to see how on both Jiren and Broly's face, they're covered in blood, their blood vessels are popping out, their veins are popping out. These two had created such an echo from this attack that once they did come in contact, everything literally was about to be destroyed, as of course from there, the Grand Priest went along to stick his hand out and commenting, "A battle that produces this much energy is rare indeed." But the Grand Priest is in fact smart, because he ends up containing everything and preventing this explosion from literally destroying the entire fabric of reality, as the Grand Priest responds, "Most satisfactory." As the narration then continues, "Forget about winning and losing. Forget about pride and pain. Let your opponent graze your skin and you smash into his flesh. Let him smash into your flesh and you fracture his bones. Let him fracture your bones and you take his life. Do not be concerned with escaping safely. Lay your life before him. Bruce Lee." What is Jiren and Broly's fate? Find out on January 25th, 2021, as only then the manga chapter special then comes to a close. Now, there were a few takeaways about this chapter that I both liked and disliked. Number one being the fact that we finally get to see how both Broly and Jiren are at their peak, and seeing the extent of their battle at such a pace was really riveting, and it was really cool to see how these two were able to fight back and forth. I just strongly don't like and disagree with the fact that Broly had used a very similar technique and move to that of the Kamehameha. His positioning, his stance, everything resembled that of the Kefla fight, and for Jiren to do the same thing, I think it was very unoriginal to see that, because we've seen that be done before, so why try and do it again? I've also really disliked the fact that Broly did and mimicked Gogeta's moves. Why, right? Like, that makes no sense, and I think that from a writing standpoint, that really sucks, and it's not needed only because Broly is Broly. Broly is not Gogeta. So why is Broly copying Gogeta, right? That makes no sense. There's no explanation as to how he knows it. What? Because Goku's his teacher? That still doesn't explain how he's able to do such things, because Goku as a singular warrior also doesn't do what Gogeta does as well. So I'm not entirely sure if Broly had copied the Stardust Breaker or he was attempting to do so. That was really terrible as well, but I did enjoy how finally Monty had introduced Gichin, and I think that Monty ought to do something with Gichin's character, or at least creating a story involving Gichin, only because it was so cool to see how Gichin was looking on through the other side and acknowledging and being very proud of Jiren and how far he's gotten. But I also really enjoyed seeing the Grand Priest kind of tell Goku in a very serious tone not to worry in the fact that he was going to contain the blast, and how dangerous this fight was when looking at the overall narrative. So I can't wait to see how this is going to end. Are they alive? Did somehow they reverse time? We're gonna have to find out once Monty Black eventually ends up releasing this. So again, I want to thank you all so much for your time. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give this video a big fat thumbs up if you guys enjoyed it. Criticisms, takeaways, likes, dislikes, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below about how you guys felt about this. Also, follow Monty Black. His Twitter link will be located down below as well. Thank you all so much for your time. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody, and take care. Peace. And a quick little reminder before you exit the video, if you guys are unaware, follow me on my secondary channels, which are also used to discuss and talk about all kinds of different subjects and topics, including gaming and live streams, beginning with Unreal Network, which is a channel dedicated in discussing all kinds of movies, breakdowns, current events, scary stories, theories, and more. So if you are someone who is into the entertainment world, then that's the channel for you. So head on over and subscribe over on Unreal Network, which up next is Unreal Vlogs, where I bring you guys a little closer into my life in taking you behind the scenes with vlogging content, parody videos, reactions, motivational videos, uplifting videos, and more. So if you want to get to know me on more of a personal level, then that's the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button to always be in the loop with Unreal Vlogs. And lastly, my gaming channel, Unreal Royale, where on that channel we dive more into the world of gaming, ranging from all different kinds of video games, from Dragon Ball to Resident Evil to Grand Theft Auto, Halo, Gears of War, Minecraft, all kinds of horror games, shooters, RPGs, and more, including live streams. So if you're a gamer and are into the gaming world, then smash that subscribe button over at Unreal Royale and experience the ride with me. I want to thank you all so much for your time. Thank you all so very much for your support, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you in the next video.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
Also follow UnrealEntGaming on these social media platforms to stay connected at all times. And if you don't, then very soon you will all be dead! Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck's up, on? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge! What, Broly?
Frieza.
Uh-oh.
Prepare to die!
But once you get video, lots of likes, or Bill will turn you into chocolate!
Vados, get over here. Tell these mortals that I'm the biggest UnrealEntGaming fan. This is my moment. I'm a part of his notification squad. Universe 7 can have all the fun. I just want the food.
And don't forget to leave a comment on this video. Show some love for the best community on YouTube.
Kakarot!